so I'm Mike Sandifer. I'm the department chair for science and math. I mostly teach 7th and 8th grade science, as well as high school elective science, usually environmental.
I'm Stephanie Rosenthal. I teach 6th grade science, physical science, physics, forensics, and middle school computers this year. Last year I did astronomy.
I'm Jerry Salvaheno. I'm one of the science faculty here. I teach anatomy and physiology. I also teach biology and chemistry. Next year we're going to start a current bio, so I'll be teaching that course as well.
I have an undergraduate degree in environmental biology, and then a master's in divinity from seminary, and currently wrapping up a master's in teaching secondary science.
I've got a bachelor's degree in biology, and then a teaching certification with biology, science, and K-8 elementary courses, and then a master's degree in forensic science.
My background is I have a bachelor's in science in biology with an emphasis in cell and molecular bio, and I have a master's degree in biology as well.
Having both a science background and a ministry background, and having pastored for numerous years, just recognizing that I think Scripture is really clear that nature itself is declaring who God is, and so science is really us asking those questions about, like, okay, as we're digging through this, whether or not it's the genetics or the ecosystems or the chemistry, all those organizational pieces, like, what is this actually telling us about who God is as the creator of it all?
Science, because we see how God is so intricate when it comes to his creation, that he's not just in this box, but it's actually more complicated than that. And the beauty in almost, it looks like chaos, but it's not. When we look deeper into it, we see how organized God created the universe.
I think like one of our first challenges is honestly just like, are we teaching them good critical thinking? I think frankly, like, that's actually one of the things that culturally here in the United States we've found that we really struggle through is, like, how do we truly critically assess the things we're reading, the things we're hearing. And so I think science is actually like a really good training tool for that, so that regardless of what you do, whether or not it's in business, like anything, that like we're teaching hopefully critical thinking, because you are having to take data, you are having to take like this evidence, and then be like, okay, well, what does that actually mean? Like, what do I do with that? So, if we play kind of statistically, like what's an outlier, and like what does that actually mean? Is that actually like important? Yes or no? And so I think that's like a big piece of it. I think it's also important to to teach that science isn't the enemy, and it's not something to be afraid of. It is something that you can engage as a person of faith. I think unfortunately, like we run into sometimes, like, the thing that we don't understand, like, it's easier to discount, and so for whatever reason, I think science has fallen into that at various points, and so I think that's important for all of us to just be like, okay, like how, and just with that, like, how do you engage things that you don't necessarily always agree with, or that you don't fully understand? There's many things about God that we just don't understand. Scripture's also kind of clear about that. God is far bigger than us, far bigger than our understanding. So sometimes we do run into something, even in science. It's like, man, that just makes no sense whatsoever. And like, how do you kind of wrestle through that? And so, and even to be able to sometimes set aside an opinion long enough to kind of like engage with something, and then come back and like, okay, like, where does my opinion fall on that?
To piggyback with what Mike said, we can teach students the science, how to do science, observation, collecting data, but the challenge of integrating the humanities portion of that. How do we integrate that? Because that's what we do outside science. And we know all of these info, now as a Christian, as a believer, what do we do with that science? How do we live a Christian walk with that information? And how can we encourage other people, other students? So the section in A&P class, and just I remember the first day, students are so excited. We get to dissect a cat, and we're gonna take pictures. And they see the cat, and it was the most quiet day. They were just, this is real. It's in front of me, and no one took pictures. But at the end of that course, everybody's so used to it that it's not just a cat, but it's a digestive system. It's a respiratory system. It's an integument system. And students being able to be comfortable dissecting and knowing the process on how an organism works, I think that's exciting.
Cool.
Let's see, I think the blood spatter lab was pretty fun for forensics. So they got to drop the blood from different heights and fluid and use drops and moving different movements, and then measure the angles and angle of impact and the length of the drop to figure out information about the blood spatter pattern. They had a lot of fun with that, and they wanted to try new things, and then they made these different like swipe and white patterns and different types of things, and then with the information, they were pointing out, oh, this is this and this is this from our vocabulary words, so they were able to make the things and then point out what they were, and so that was a lot of fun.
That is amazing. So in a
in
high school class, you were literally studying blood splatter patterns.
Yeah, in forensics.
That's very cool.
How do you go? Like, where do you go next? Right? I actually thought it was actually really informative for me in environmental science. I know it's sometimes a controversial topic, but really seeing students critically think through both sides of an argument, and then be able to talk about what are not only environmental impacts but economic impacts, and then like how does that impact people, and then look about like, okay, based on like God's command, in particular Jesus' commands to us to care well for others, to love others. Well, how should that inform where we are with how we should navigate some of those things? And so they actually did quite a few research papers on local issues, whether or not it's some of the bills in our local legislature around gas appliances, to water rights, to even looking at local Superfund sites and how those have been managed. And then being able to sit back and like not only talk about the pros and the cons and here's the different sides of arguments, and but then what does the Bible say, and like how does that inform their opinion of like and working through it and being able to see their thought process of like that it's not always as clear cut as sometimes the two sides that we see in the news present it. And so that to me just watching them wrestle through that was really cool.
I think also the resources that the school provides. I mean, we have the right resources when it comes to lab, lecture. We have a space for it. And, we have different chemicals for it, different organisms, kits that's needed for different types of labs. And, the support that students that we'll get from the faculty, from this team, and there's an abundance of that. And not just the support from the faculty, but I've seen it over and over from fellow students. They root for each other and they ask questions. What are you guys doing in science today? Oh, that's pretty cool. Or this is what we're doing. So there's some collaboration happening.
We're going to teach you good science. That's like, and we're not leaving God out of it. So I think that's like, I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of the way that we can do that. So yeah, and you're going to find that I think we're all pretty passionate